Hey guys, so I guess I wanted to do a follow up to my post that I talked about, being wary of people who tell others to stand out, try to be different. And I think it's so popular these days, almost everyone says it. And it's like it's the new cool thing. Telling people, no, actually don't try to stand out. Fit in with the crowd unless you know why you're standing out is almost, people just go, what? You don't think that I should, say that I'm important or that people should care about everything that I have to say? Yeah, pretty much because, most of us don't have anything new to say. But I just wanted to do a follow up just in case it, ends up being misunderstood as me saying, do not aspire to do wonderful things. Because I think that every young person should aspire to do, wonderful things. They should aspire to change the world and invent things, I think they should be motivated. But inventing things and changing things does not happen by standing out. Like, to be able to get to a point where someone actually makes a difference in the world requires a lot of time, a lot of discipline, and the actual belief that things are worth changing and that the individual is able to do it. That requires a lot of respect for how things are and the things that a person is supposed to learn. And for me, I'm always like, every time I hear someone saying don't be afraid of standing out, it's not something important even. But then, a lot of people take that same attitude and they apply it to everything. So, an example for me recently is a friend of mine. She had a few interviews and she calls me like after a few of them and goes, "Oh my goodness, I had a few interviews. The person who called me back, he sounded like someone that I do not like at all. I felt so upset. He upset me. And then I asked her, a few questions of what happened. And then, some of the things that she said, I thought, oh, okay, that's not supposed to be a big deal. And you're looking for the job. You need money, right? So, like, you're not supposed to be so concerned about your boss's opinions, or even if you are, like, one of the questions that you have to ask yourself is, what do I have, like, why am I working, or why am I going for that job? And then also keeping in mind that, okay, so you don't like your boss. In that case, you have a few options. Either, make that very clear, which means you end up having a very, hostile relationship with your boss, or you set a goal and you decide, okay, I'm just going to work here for a little while because I really do need the money. And a lot of times in life, especially I think when we're young, that is the case. We need the money. We don't have a lot of options because we don't have, a lot of qualifications. And in that case, for me, I go, obviously, no one enjoys being in a hostile, relationship with their boss or co-workers. Or you also don't want to not have an income because then you end up homeless. So you go, Or, okay, that's not necessarily, like, you won't necessarily end up homeless. Maybe a friend will let you stay with them or a family member. But that's not really, like, I don't think that that's right. I think a person should avoid asking for help unless they really need it. We all, like, work, or at least a lot of us do. And sometimes we all have bad days at work. So I think, like, the responsible thing is to stay employed, even if you don't like your boss, and set a goal to get, like, another job somewhere that you maybe get along with people a little bit better. But before that happens, I don't think that arguing with, like, your boss is the right thing to do. And unfortunately, I think sometimes when people are encouraged to stand out, then they go, okay, I'm just going to speak my mind, tell him or her how I feel. If they, like, they will just deal with it, because I've been told that if I don't like how things, like, are, I can say something. For me, I think that's bad judgment. And I think that the reason that young people do things like that is because they're not being told that actually standing out is not normal. Standing out is what you do when you're in a place where you are comfortable, when you're in a place where you have lots, like, your skills are needed. You're in a place where if you, like, if you quit your job, your boss will be begging you to, come back to work. If you're not at that place, no one will care. Like, if you get fired, they'll hire someone else in no time. And to be realistic is to know that. To be realistic is to know that, like, you're supposed to want to fit in, because fitting in means you actually end up, like, getting more power in a workplace, because that is the whole point. Everyone gets along. You're trusted to be able to do your work well, not to be hostile. To be hostile means you do not get trusted. It means that, like, people are not comfortable around you. And that is part of standing out. And I think that young people should be informed a bit more about that. That when you stand out, you're making yourself, like, different from the group, and hopefully you're gaining something from it. If you're not actually gaining anything that's worthwhile, I personally do not recommend it at all. And a lot of things are not really worthwhile. Like, a lot of the reasons that people try to stand out, lately for me, like, I noticed the trend. I go, okay, you're actually not getting your objectives done, or you're not getting them met. You could have, like, gotten that objective met a whole lot easier by actually fitting in rather than standing out. And you are exhausted, because it's exhausting to always have to, like, constantly feel like you have to prove yourself. And that does not have to be the case. And I think, like, people need to be told more that it's okay to not stand out. It's okay to blend in, like, but it's also, like, I think it's fantastic to be exceptional. I think it's fantastic to, you know, uh, learn the rules of your field, meet exceptional people, learn from them, and become so good that you surpass a lot of the people who have taught you. That's a good type of standing out. And just to be confident to say that I know, like, I know a lot about this field. I know how this and that works. These are the best people in this field. I have studied their ideas. I know their opinions. And this is what I do not agree with. And this is what I agree with. Then that's great. That means you're a master at something. And that's a good time to stand out. But if you're a young person who barely knows much about the world, don't try to stand out. That's my advice. Try as much as possible to, observe your environment. Try to learn, from people around you that you at least respect. And I said respect. And I think it's very, very important to find people to admire and respect, because it's when we find people like those that we're willing to actually, open ourselves up to learning and to respect authority, because there is a lot of like legit authority that a young person who wants to succeed and do well in life should be aware of, should be trying to learn from, and actually observing. And I feel like, like this standing out culture that's really popular now kind of undermines that. And for me, like, that's really concerning. So when I say, like, don't try to stand out, honestly, like, try and observe more. Try and observe, and also, like, use your judgment. Go, okay, so do I like this person? Do I like their results? Do I like the life that they're living? Is he or she someone that I should actually be taking advice from because I'm trying to get to where he or she is? And if you can answer, like those questions for yourself, I think you'll be on, like a good track to either go, okay, I think I'll not take that person's advice. And generally for me, I say that's, like our favorite celebrities. They're fantastic, they're entertaining, but there's a lot of, like areas that they meddle into that, like if you decide to use your judgment and not let, like emotional arguments persuade you, you'll go, okay, that's not a good opinion. Like, I love this person's music, but I don't think that I should be, I should be listening to him or her talk about politics, because if they were, like very well informed, they would actually be politicians, not musicians. Like, and just being able to separate those things, I think, is so important. But yeah, guys, don't try to stand out. Don't be hostile to your boss. He or she is the one who either promotes you or fires you. And if you want to get fired soon, or just have a terrible time at work, then you should stand out and you should speak up and speak against your boss. But if that's not what you're interested in at all, fit in, do your work well, and if you don't like your boss, apply for new jobs, but leave in a good way, not standing up and sticking it up to the boss. That's that's not necessary. Like, it's not. Standing out is not normal. It's actually not cool unless you know why you're standing out. Otherwise, it's just actually, it's the new way of fitting in. In fact, yeah, standing out these days is the new fitting in.